Harsha's journey from classroom in IIM-Ahmedabad in 1985 to commentary boxes at the biggest matches has been a really, truly inspiring journey for us. His commentary goes beyond just narrating the game. He tells the story behind every wicket and every run. That makes him the voice of cricket. Picture this. It's a close match. Tensions are running high. And you hear the calm and witty voice of Harsha Bhogle. He doesn't just narrate the story. He makes it come alive, adding excitement and edging us all onto the seats. Harsha, and if you imagine this, I get reminded of a match, a classic match, India versus Pakistan T20 World Cup 2022 October. And what a moment when Harsha made the comment that marked the history. The comment was, Kohli goes out the ground, Kohli goes out of the ground. What a statement. I could not iterate the same statement, but sir, that was an iconic moment. I won't take much time. I would invite Professor Harsha to take the stage, and the stage is yours.
Thank you. Yamal said something interesting right at the start. He said, a lot of people want to do what I have to do. If Professor Mote was here, you'd have harumphed into his coffee and said, we are a management institute. This guy is someone who did something wrong. I was actually feeling quite fine till now, until I suddenly glanced at the second row on the left and I saw my batchmate sitting there. Now I'm under serious pressure. And they're not stopping grinning at me. They're looking at me and grinning, saying, "Yaha kya kar raha hai?" But I'm going to be very serious on today. No, seriously. We're starting bang on time, actually, which is fantastic. I'm quite excited. I'll be very honest. I'm very, very excited about being here. I was here almost to the date about 19 years ago. And this was before social media became what it did, and that talk went all over. But what's interesting is Mumbai was almost flooded that day, and I was late coming here. I was leaving home today, and I said, "Nah, history can't repeat itself, man, because it's pouring, absolutely pouring in Mumbai." I'm going to push this a little closer, yeah. So, of all the great achievers that this institute has produced, and there are so many, I have absolutely no clue why they thought of me to start this series. No idea at all. First of all, I love the word distinguished on it. Nobody's ever called me distinguished. So I love the word distinguished on it. And by the way, Yamal, he almost said professor. Professor Bhogle was my father. So I don't know why me. Maybe I was just top of mind because of the World Cup. Maybe the phone, you know how these AI-generated things are. Maybe the phone threw up my name first. And maybe I said yes before they could change their mind. So, you know, in one of the institute documentaries, I don't know if some of you have seen it, one of the institute documentaries, I'd said that you don't choose IIM-Ahmedabad. IMA chooses you. And I said that for a reason, because in a moment of benevolence and kindness, and I can't think of other words, in a moment of benevolence and kindness, this institute chose me. It picked a young man so uncertain, so raw, and said, "Come into my embrace." It gave me the two most memorable years of my life. And when the time came to say farewell, it gave me the company of the most beautiful, the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. I don't know why she did it, but she did. So maybe there is someone who writes our scripts for us. You wonder sometimes when you get to our age, and I'm so happy to say our age because those three guys are sitting there. Otherwise, I would have had to say my age. When you get to my age, it's so easy to look back and think that maybe somebody up there is writing our scripts, but more and more, I think so. Somebody wrote that script, and for that, I will remain eternally grateful. Eternally grateful. And I want to urge all of you to be grateful too. You know, sometimes we don't know the value of what we hold in our hands. Sometimes we're on a high and say, what's the big deal? Because everybody who's come here has academically been somebody before coming here. And so in our arrogance, in our youthful zest, we say, what's the big deal? Don't. I will ask you to challenge a lot of things I'm going to say today, but don't challenge the gratitude bit. because you will realize what this meant to you many, many years later. When I was trying to belong in a world that I sought for myself, I was often challenged, often aggressively so. I was asked how much cricket I had played. I still do, as if that was a rite of passage for my profession. At such moments, I told myself, I have a test cap too that you can never get. This is my test cap. And that is why I keep coming back here every time, because I want to revisit where I got my test cap. These classrooms that hopefully will see vibrant young students in them again. Not to say that the other classrooms are not zesty and vibrant, but there's something about the campus we grew up in. I hope those campuses will see these bright students again, those classrooms, those teammates, some of whom are here, some of whom mean the world to me, those professors that we looked up to so much, but more than anything else, the air that I was able to breathe. So don't forget, this is your test cap too, all of you here. Don't ever take it lightly. If you think I'm preaching a little bit, just think this is an uncle talk, but don't take it lightly. I've had the great privilege of being around the world as a commentator for this greatest sport in the world. I've been to some of its most iconic venues in the company of some of the greatest that have played it. I've been part of some of its most intoxicating moments. Kohli going down the ground was just a description of what happened, by the way. But believe me, in spite of all those venues that I've been at, and you get to a certain age, you get a little emotional. This is as big as it gets for me, I'll be very honest. When I first got this invitation saying, Distinguished Alumni Series, you're starting, my first reaction was, don't change your mind. Don't change your mind. You know, one day, a couple of years ago, it might have been a couple of years ago, I don't remember. Actually, can you just turn the volume up a little bit on this? Thoda audio mein? Turn the volume up just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, that's better. So a couple of years ago, we have a WhatsApp group. I don't know if it came from there. Anita pulled a message out of her inbox. And the message said, must have been one of our batchmates. He said, you know, we have all the answers, but nobody's asking us questions. It's quite a line, actually. It makes you think if you're at the stage of life we are in. Because a lot of us are at a stage in life where we are searching for an audience almost, where we sometimes start to believe in the importance that we assign to ourselves, that we have a lot of wisdom to share. But you know, that train might be stopping at different stations now. The aroma that lingers might be yesterday's, and heaven forbid a lot of us start to preach. A lot of us start to preach. So if I drift into that realm this evening, if I start to preach, please put your hands up. Please put your hands up, and I will not take it amiss because I'm on social media, and on social media these days they don't worry much about kindness. I inhabit that world too. So if I start to preach, please put your hand up, and I'll take the message. Challenge everything that I'm going to say today. Don't just accept what I'm going to say. Challenge everything, because while it comes out of what I have seen in life and experienced, it may not be appropriate for you. And that is something only you can decide. I cannot decide for you. It may be appropriate, it may not be. But you must come to that conclusion after challenging the thought. Because my thoughts, like yesterday's fruits, could have grown old and stale. They might have an expiry date on them. Or just maybe, and I'm hoping for just maybe, you might find them still fresh. But it's for you to decide. And from time to time, I will delve into my experiences, because that's the only thing I know in life. I will delve into my experiences. If I do that, just pardon the indulgence. Be kind to me, thoda. Okay. A large part of what I'm going to say today, these learnings have come from a book that Anita and I wrote called The Winning Way, it's a book on the learnings from sport for managers. It was a lecture series that Anita and I built with great love, and we did over 700 sessions for corporate India of The Winning Way. Almost everything that I say here is what I've learned from Anita. Her work ethic, I come from a very laid-back engineering course and a very laid-back town where everything was, चलता है यहाँ, बस नहीं आई तो ठहरो बस आएंगी. बस आ जाती थी कभी, कभी नहीं आई तो माता करते बैठते थे. But more than anything else, everyone needs a moral compass. And I've been guided by her constant desire to do and to know what is right. And I think we must all have somebody in our lives who will tell us what is right if we do not understand what is right. And as I will propound in the course of today, sometimes we get into situations where we do not know what is right. We just need a little shoulder. I'll talk about that as we go along. So I've picked a team of 11 to talk to you about today. 11 things that I want to talk to you about in 50 minutes and 46 seconds. When I started my career in broadcasting, indeed, even when I came here to IIM-Ahmedabad towards the end of June 1983, much like today, very soon after India had won a World Cup, I came here and I looked around at people and everybody was something I wasn't. There were chartered accountants. I was an engineering graduate. Anita still doesn't believe I actually passed my mathematics exams in engineering college. There were people to whom quant came so naturally, so easily. There were people from IITs who'd done really well, who were used to pressure situations. And I looked at them and I focused almost entirely on who I wasn't. My life was completely defined by who I wasn't, not by who I was. And it's an interesting thought because that carried over into my career in broadcasting. And I spent a very large part of my life here thinking about who I wasn't. And in every batch, there is always an elder brother or an elder sister sometimes. Your batch has that too. Our batch, there was a very kindly, jovial, roly-poly soul called Subramaniam Sharma. We used to call him Mota out of great love. It was only out of love that word was assigned to him. And one day we are walking down the steps just opposite D2, where you come out of D1, you're not allowed to go in the first place. D1 was what the girls' dorm used to be. D1, D2, and then you come down the steps to go to the mess. And I was going down the steps and he put his arm around me and he said, "Why are you always talking about what you cannot do?" He said, "Let me tell you 3 things that you can do that I cannot do." I said, "Really? Is that possible? Does that exist? Is there something I can actually do in this galaxy of talent that by mistake I got dropped into?" Then when my career started, I wasn't supposed to be there. I hadn't played 100 test matches when I began a career in broadcasting. Sadly for me, I didn't look wow either. Nobody went weak in their knees looking at me. I didn't make heads turn. I wasn't a style icon. I still don't understand style. I think 10 times before deciding what to wear here, and I'm in dread of whether I'm wearing the right things. I had never been in front of camera. And my 2 closest friends were low self-esteem and low confidence in myself. I don't know if a lot of you go through that phase as well. Low self-esteem and very low confidence in myself. And it continued like this for a while. One of my friends, one of the finest sports writers in India, that India's ever produced, called Rohit Brijnath, then wrote an article in India Today in 1999. I actually went and dug it out again. And by 1999, actually, I've had a couple of very good tours of Australia. I've done a book on my tour of England. I'm a columnist now, so you'd have thought, right, this guy's okay, he's sorted in life. No, I'm still racked by self-doubt, self-esteem. I didn't tell him that. And yet his article said, astonishingly, he still believes he is lacking. That he is an imposter of sorts, a self-esteem so low and so obvious that his producers say his weakness is he doesn't believe he's good. I saw the positive behind that line, that somebody thought I was good. But, as time went along, it wasn't just me. Anita too was defined by who she wasn't. Anita came here very, very into quantitative methods. She was very, very good at mathematics and statistics. So good that when our children were growing up and couldn't understand integration by parts, it troubled her enormously. And I had to tell her, sorry, they got their father's genes. I didn't get mathematics the way I got a few other things, and she just got mathematics. And then when the children were growing up, she set up a little shop on her own, but she could not do quantitative research. So in spite of being a very high quality account planner in advertising, she became an outstanding qualitative researcher. And then one day she said, look, if we have to work together, why don't we do this together? I spoke at Hindustan Lever once for 20 minutes on learnings from sport. And then we thought there was a career there, and we thought maybe we'll do 20-25. And then she started learning sport. And wow, she became fantastic at marrying sport and management. But at all times, she too was defined by who she wasn't. Both of us could have spent our lives thinking who we weren't. But some days you get the realization that for all the things I cannot do, hang on, there's something that I can. I can't bowl 150 kilometers an hour. But can I bowl at 135 and swing the ball both ways? I can't play the pull shot. Can I leave it and play the drive? I can't open the batting and hammer. I can't bat like Virat Kohli, but can I bat like somebody else? There's always something that you can do. And this is a lesson that resonated very strongly, very powerfully in corporate India as well. The easiest thing in the world is to say, I cannot do it. This is not me, because defeat is a very easy option. Winning is a very tough option. The easiest thing in the world is to say, I wasn't meant to do this. And even companies do that. They say, they're LIC, they're SBI, You can always look at what you don't have, or you can look at what you have. And I would urge you at all times, and I know I'm speaking to a generation that is so high on confidence, you must be thinking, what on earth is this uncle talking about? But I'm sure there must be some in your batch as well who are thinking, oh, hang on, everyone's better than me. Don't let what you cannot do come in the way of what you can. There's always a lot of things that you can do. Don't let what you cannot do come in the way of what you can. When I did my first program on recorded television, the producer said he had a face and a look that were as close to what could not possibly work on television. But always, the producer said, he listened, he learned, he improved. Because I had no choice, I had no choice but to listen, to learn, and to improve. But as I said, there's always something you can do. And many years later, there was a producer, almost a benefactor of mine, who kept showing me peaks that I did not know existed because I had very narrow vision. I didn't believe in myself. And he believed in myself much more than I did. He would point me peaks. He would show me things that he thought I could do and I thought I didn't. And he said in a different interview, he said he has a special warmth that comes through the lens, as does his love for the game. I didn't even know that there was a warmth that was generating out of me and getting into living rooms of people. And maybe that is what people were looking at. Maybe that is why I got the breaks. I don't know. Maybe that is why I got the breaks. Maybe decent, weirdly dressed people can still have a career in television. You don't have to shout. You don't have to scream. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be abusive. When you're on television and people switch on and watch you, they are inviting you into their house. They have the option of not inviting you, but they choose to invite you when they switch on and watch your program. When they choose to invite you, you must behave in their house like you're a guest in their house. Do you go to somebody's house and start screaming wildly and abusing people? Do you? And yet we do that every evening at 9 o'clock. That is why I think my career is coming to an end. The easiest thing in the world is to be obsessed by what you cannot do. If there are many things you cannot do, you fight them. You fight them and try and find something that you can do. Determination is far stronger than talent. My low self-esteem was evident in my brief little career as a cricketer. It's an urban myth that I never played any cricket. And it's something I'm not too fussed about letting it perpetuate. But I played a lot of years in junior division and lower division and senior division cricket in Hyderabad. I played for my school college. And one of the biggest days of my life was when I got picked amongst all the colleges in the city to represent their university side. But when I was batting, I was always worried about the ball that would get me out. And when I was bowling, I was always wondering where the batter's going to hit me. But I found something very interesting. I found when I was fielding that once the ball left the batter's bat, no force on earth could come between it and me. There was no opponent between the ball and me at that point. No batter could hit the ball away. No bowler could spoil it. It was me and the ball. And that liberated me. And so on Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays, waiting for my senior division game, I was not thinking of how many runs I was going to score. I was not thinking, can I get a wicket? Will someone give me a couple of overs to bowl? I was thinking, can I hit the stumps direct with my left hand? Can I learn to go round my right hand? Or can I save time and learn to throw underarm left-handed? I used to drop a catch or two a season. The only two things that came naturally to me in life were chemistry and catching a cricket ball. Strange combination. But I don't know. But it's something I'm still fighting to get rid of, by the way. A lot of you might look at me and say, here's this guy who's coming and speaking here. Here's this guy we've seen on television for 25 years. It's something I'm still struggling to get rid of. So for all those of you who think like me, it can stay with you for a long time. But what it did was, it made me work harder. Because I realized in my own mind, I did not have what it took. And so I had no option but to work harder. And I keep telling a lot of young people in my profession who should actually by now have become far better than me because they're more gifted than I am. And I tell them, you might be more talented than me. You're definitely more stylish than me. But can you work harder than me at getting better? And I think that is where you'll struggle because I had to work very, very hard. Can we channelize, if you have low self-esteem, can you make that also work for you? Because in life, whatever we have, we must make that work for us. Right? There's no point saying, but I don't have that. I mean, you can do that. There's enough entertainment on television these days. It doesn't cost very much. You can just sit there and watch. Or you can say, what is it that I do not have? How can I make that work for me? My low self-esteem propelled me towards working harder than anybody else in the industry. And so when I got into television, I knew a lot of stuff because when nobody was watching, I was busy working. It taught me to give 100% to every single thing I did. I could come here and speak, right? But I've got 6 pages of notes here today. If I go to a school to speak, I still prep and go to a school. If I have to reply to a WhatsApp message, I still think, what do I have to do? Can we give every single moment 100% because I did not believe I had the option of giving less than 100%. Sometimes when you have no options, you might think it's a terrible place in life, right? I don't have options. What can you do? You want to become a martyr? Or do you say, I don't have options, so whatever I have, let me give 100% to that, and maybe something will come out of that, right? So I learned to give 100% to every single thing that I was doing. And I remember when I started off, I went on my first tour. I was writing only for newspapers on my very first tour. And there was another journalist one day, not much had happened in the game. And we were meeting in the evening and he said, Raj, kuch bhi nahi hua, I sent some shit today. I said, why? Was your name not on it? He said, yeah. I said, so if your name was on it, how can you send something that you didn't want to send? The whole idea was new to me, that you can compromise with yourself. He said, I just sent some shit. And that stayed with me for such a long time, saying, no, I cannot do that. And when I was passing out of school, and it's a story I've told before, some of you might have heard it before. We finished 12th standard, we've got our marks, we've got to go to the school one final time to pick up the certificate or something. I've gone to my school. And, you know, in boys' schools, we pretend to be macho, but we're all deeply emotional. The guys were crying because we're never going to see each other again. And suddenly the office boy comes running and says, Principal साहब ने बुलाया है आपको. I said, अब क्या किया मैंने यार, school छोड़ने का time आ गया. Now what have I done? So I went to him and he said, sit down. You know what that means, right? Sit down. You know how principals are. They exude authority. Are deans at IIMA also like that, or are they friendlier? He said, sit down. So I sat down. He said, every year we have an idea of how many students get into IITs from our school, and we have a good idea of who will get into IITs from our school. Why didn't you make it? I said, sir, actually I wasn't very keen. I hadn't prepared enough. I wasn't very keen. He said, then why did you write the exam? He said, why did you do something that you were not willing to give 100% to? He took the trouble to call me all the way to his room after we had virtually passed out of school to say, if there's anything you ever want to do in life, give 100%, otherwise don't do it. You meet good people in the world, you know. We focus so much on the bad people we meet, no? We meet more good people than bad. I'll tell you about that as well. So I was very lucky to the extent that I met many, many more good people than I did bad. I met a lot of very bad people. Let me be honest. I met a lot of bad people who didn't want me to succeed. But I met lots of good people. A lot of people who suddenly popped up in my life and helped me for no reason. They will pop up in your life too, because they are everywhere. If you follow social media, how many of you are on social media? How many of you are on Twitter? How many good people exist on Twitter? Now everyone's hands come down. Elon Musk, I don't know if this will reach you. But there are good people everywhere, even on Twitter. Yesterday, I met only good people on Twitter. Only good people on Twitter. Including the guys who say, sir, actually I don't like you, but today's your birthday, so I like you today. There are good people. Are you willing to look for them? Are you willing to look for good people in life? They exist, you know. There are lots of them. 3 guys sitting here also. They're also quite nice. My low self-esteem and my felt need to give 100% every time, it taught me something else. Because I worked harder when nobody was watching. It's one of the things that we define with cricketers as well. We define about everybody in life. How much are you willing to do when nobody is watching? This is an era where everything is on Instagram and has to get likes within 30 seconds. How much are you doing when nobody is watching? The amount you do when nobody is watching determines how much you do when everybody is watching. But if all you want to do is do stuff when everybody is watching, then where have you built? Where are the pillars? Where's the foundation? I had no choice, so I had to work. Because I had to work harder, I was doing a lot when nobody was watching. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, someone said, you're going to anchor the telecast. I said, so what does that mean? I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know that someone speaks to you in the ear. I didn't know you had to wear a jacket. I possessed one blazer from my college days. So Anita and I went out to buy jackets. And the only jackets we found in the shop next to us are double-breasted jackets. Can you imagine a host hosting a telecast in a double-breasted jacket? I did, because that's the only jacket I had. That's the only thing I knew. But because I had done so much when nobody was watching, when the time came, I was ready. And I think there's something to be said about that with a lot of you as well. How much are you willing to do when nobody's watching? And I learned one other thing. Because I wasn't as talented as everybody else, when people see someone who's done something, they assume that that person is naturally talented. It's an assumption we make that could be flawed. That is why I said to you, challenge every single thing that I say today. I learned this universal truth that attitude always trumps talent. Always. We worship talent. We bow to talent. Talent is a very fleeting friend. Talent is here today. Tomorrow you turn around, it's not there for you. Work ethic and attitude trumps everything. Ethics do too, by the way. I will talk about ethics as we go along, when I've completed this cycle of being uncle and grandfather at this talk. But here's something interesting. My father told me once, are you important in Indian cricket? I said, why are you asking? He said, you couldn't be. He said, no bookies ever approached you. He said, nobody has ever approached you to help in fixing, to help in whatever, nobody? I said, no. He said, yeah, you couldn't be important in Indian cricket then. Why did nobody approach me? What do you think? Maybe they thought they're wasting time. Hopefully. Hopefully they thought they're wasting time. Ethics never goes out of fashion. Sorry, as you get older, your mouth gets drier. Batting at number 4, Virat Kohli's number. Was I lucky with opportunities? How many of you believe in luck? Can you do anything about it? What's the point in believing in it then? If there's nothing you can do about luck, what's the point in believing in luck? I was very lucky. Throughout my career, things happened to me in my life, things happened to me that I never expected. Some of the things that I didn't deserve, to be honest. Our school junior team was getting picked. There are 100 guys coming and you've got to pick 7 or 8 because some seniors are already there. How do you pick them? We had a coach, he just kept throwing catches to people. The guys who took the catches stand here, the guys who couldn't take the catches go there. There was a friend of mine, we played gully cricket together. He was twice the player I was. He got a catch that went over his right shoulder. He got nervous. He dropped one that was to his left, out. What was one of the 2 things that came naturally to me? Catching a cricket ball. I was in the school junior team ahead of all of them. Lucky? Or a skill that came in handy? Getting into IIM-Ahmedabad? Not a chance in hell. If you looked at the caliber of people in my class, I frequently asked myself, what on earth am I doing here? In fact, we have a common friend, Anil Das Chaturvedi, from Hyderabad. One day, just after midnight, there's a knock on my door. 11:23. No one lives in 11:23 anymore because sadly, those dorms are empty. Knock on my door at midnight. I open the door. He's standing there, almost at detention. Bas, nothing, not a word. I said, Miyan, andar aayenge, bahar is khadenge. He came in, he sat on my bed, saying nothing. I said, Sab khairiyat? He said, बहुत दिनों से सोच रहा हूँ मियाँ, अपने को एडमिशन कैसा मिली इधर? I don't know why. It's a story I've told very often, so I won't use up your time. I never got an interview letter for IIM-Ahmedabad. It's a long story which I will explain afterwards. And then I come here, and why does this extraordinary woman want to spend her life with me? Why? Here I am struggling to stay alive. I don't have time to spend with my friends because I'm trying to figure out how much I should get in my next exam to go beyond D. If I had spent that time studying, I wouldn't have needed to worry about my grades. Was that luck? What do you think? There must be at least 5,000 people in this country more talented than me. At least. Why did I get the break? I got a break very early in life. I was just at the right place at the right time. I got a break. So was I lucky? I heard a great definition of luck many years ago, and it's something that I believe very strongly in. Luck is being ready when opportunity presents itself. Opportunity presents itself to everybody. Everybody. I know nobody to whom opportunity has not presented itself, to whom opportunity has not knocked on the door and said, here I am, what do you want to do? Did we recognize the opportunity? Have we worked hard enough when nobody is watching to be able to recognize the opportunity when it comes? You see Ronaldo putting that ball into the corner of the goal, right? Why does he do that? Because when nobody is watching, he's doing that 100 times. Why does Surya Kumar Yadav take that catch? It'll go down history as that catch. Why does he take that catch? Why does he by instinct know where the rope is? Why does he by instinct know Rohit Sharma's too far away to throw the ball to him? Why does he know that? Was it luck that he took that catch? He was an inch away from that being 6. An inch, maybe even less. Some people saw the grass moving and thought the cushion had moved. Why did he take that catch? Because when nobody was watching, he's probably done that 50 times. So can you recognize luck? Or are you willing to mourn when things go wrong? There's a lot of people who are very happy to be martyrs. Do you know them? Winning is damn tough, man. The easiest thing in the world is to lose and complain. It's next door. You can do it now. Is there room in this world for people? Maybe there is. Yeah. It's a beautiful world. There's room for everybody. Maybe. This is a very elite group of achievers in this room. So maybe you won't even understand what I'm saying because I got pitchforked into it. You probably earned the right to be here. But do we just mourn when things go right? Every time I hear someone say, "Sir, politics tha," I look carefully and say, was that person actually good enough? The toughest thing in the world is to work very hard and make the most of what you have. The easiest thing in the world is to let go and remain a martyr all your life. And then when you're my age, you turn up here and talk about how bad the world is. Don't go down that path, man. So if luck exists, but there's nothing you can do about it, can you budget for luck? Can you go out to bat on a big final saying, "Acha, sab hai mere paas, pad hai, bat hai, box hai, shoes hai, now luck hai"? Can you pack luck into your kit bag? Can you pack luck when you go to a competitive exam? So why worry about luck, yeah? That's my message to all of you. If luck comes your way, it comes your way. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But there's no point losing sleep over luck, because you don't control it anyway. And here's something interesting. One of the great lines in sport came from a South African golfer called Gary Player. And he said, it's funny, he said, the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. It's a quote that's been assigned to many people thereafter. Batting at number 5. Can you play on the big day? What is it that separates people who do well on the big day versus people who choke on the big day? What separates them? It's one of the toughest things in the world to play on the big day. Can you pretend it is just another day? You know it's a big day, but can you pretend it is another day? Are you prepared enough to put all thoughts of the outcome away and pretend it's another day? I was chatting with Nasir Hussain once and he told me this story. It's a story that you probably heard. Most grandmothers tell you that anyway. Take a plank of wood, 20 feet, 30 feet long and 3 feet wide, right? 30 by 3. Piece of wood, put it on the ground and walk on it. Can you? Is it tough? Some people who've got this attitude and all will just sort of dance over it. Some will walk like they're on a ramp. But everyone walks on it. Take the same plank of wood now and put it between 2 buildings 100 meters in the air. It's the same plank of wood. Will you walk on it? Will you? Will you dance over it? It's the same plank of wood, no? Why not? You're now suddenly worried about the outcome. When you're worried about the outcome, you lose the present. It's the same plank of wood. Can you tell yourself, it's the same plank of wood, man, I danced on it, I'll walk. That is what playing on the big day is. The people who can play on the big day say it's just another day. I know it's a big day, but it's just another day. They don't let the importance of the day get to them. Some do, because they are very good at it. People like Virat Kohli do, because they are very good at saying, this is the big day, man, this is me. Not everybody can do that, because far too many people are worried about the outcome, worried about what will go wrong. Can you just pretend it's another day? Has that happened to you ever in your life? That you've gone to a big day and could not do what you would have done any other day? Ever happened to you? If it hasn't happened to you, please put your hand up, man. I want to come and shake it. It's very easily said, I can assure you. Easily said, walk on that plank of wood, but it's damn tough to do. I remember I was hosting the 2007 T20 World Cup in Johannesburg. Big new development in our game. I'd seen a game in 2006 and written an article back in 2006 saying, I've seen the future and it is here. So I'm very excited about hosting the 2007 T20 World Cup. And I remember getting up that day, going to the ground and said, wow, man, everybody's going to be watching today. Today is your day. Come on, do well. It's your day. Every single thing that could go wrong on the telecast went wrong. Every single thing. Engineering collapsed. Sound collapsed. I'm saying, right, let's go and meet somebody, and someone else is coming up. I can barely hear the director. As it is, he had a strong Aussie accent, but I could barely hear the director. So I was flying by instinct. I was throwing to things, something else was happening. I was going to a break, some other thing happened. It was a textbook case of what you should not do in television. And this was supposed to be my big day. And then when the game started, I held my face in my hand for 5, 7, 8 minutes. I did not want to move out of that studio. And I said, you screwed it up. I called Anita and I said, it's funny her name keeps coming up, na? Because whenever I felt vulnerable, I called her. And I called her and I said, I screwed up today. And, when you have a partner you trust in, they always tell you the right things. So now I'm hosting the final of the 2011 Cricket World Cup. I'm in a studio in Delhi. It's India versus Sri Lanka in Mumbai. And I get up in the morning and I think, you know what? India is playing at home. Everybody will watch the pre-show. And this is your pre-show. I had not missed a single game, by the way. I did every single game of the 2011 Cricket World Cup as I did of the 2006 Football World Cup. Because I didn't realize he was supposed to get tired. Nobody told me he was supposed to get tired. So I've gone to the studio and I'm very excited. And suddenly this voice inside me tells me, no. Game number 376. Just another game. I say, I'm having this debate with myself. It's the final of the World Cup. And this voice inside me keeps telling me, no, it's just another day. And when the title music was playing, I had to walk towards a certain place, do the opening sequence, then go and sit. As I was walking the title sequence, in my mind, I was telling myself, I wasn't speaking the first line to myself. I was telling myself, chill, another day, chill, another day, chill, another day. Can we do that? I was able to do that because I had failed doing something else. Is it possible, you think? 2015 World Cup, India is playing Pakistan in Adelaide. You cannot get a hotel room 60, 70 kilometers away from Adelaide. Only day in Australia I've had room service because you cannot get out of the hotel. It's absolutely packed. And there I go, 2-hour pre-show, India versus Pakistan. Wow, man, here I am. We start the program and then about 45 minutes into the program, the music starts and they let the crowd in. And you know what, these giant speakers, there's one giant speaker there, there's one giant speaker there. It starts blaring. I cannot hear people who are standing 3 feet away from me, let alone hear the person in my ear. You learn to play. If you're not afraid of making a mistake, you learn to play that day. Sometimes your instincts work. But the question you have to ask yourself in situations like this is, how good is your preparation? You always have a fallback. In my profession, I can only talk about my profession. When things are going wrong, there's always a fallback for you that comes with experience. You can buy time for yourself. When you find an anchor is faffing around a little bit, it means he or she is buying time. I can look at an anchor and say, acha to, audio mein gadbad hai. But how often have you done it? How intense is your preparation? If you're prepared enough, you'll always find a way. 2019, we were in England. In India, sometimes we work in chaos. Sometimes there's time for rehearsal, sometimes there's not. But I was working with an English producer who loved rehearsals. He loved rehearsals so much. I said, does he like the live program or does he only want me to rehearse? So I have to rehearse whereby I'm doing a voiceover. And as soon as the voiceover ends, I'm in vision. I'm walking up to a certain point on a camera there, that's somewhere there. And then I turn, there's a spider cam there. You know the spider cam is the thing that goes all over. There's a spider cam there. As soon as I turn to the spider cam starts its movement. And I'm looking at the spider cam all the way. And by the time the spider cam reaches the pitch for the toss, I have to finish saying what I have and time it exactly so that I say it's time for the toss, by which time the spider cam has got there. We start. There's always something in the belly. Always in your belly, you're saying, okay, get it right. Okay. And I can't hear anybody. I cannot hear anybody. Audio's crashed. I cannot hear anybody. Not quite as bad as yesterday, but I can't hear anybody. And then you tell yourself sometimes, when things are tough, maybe they're meant to be. Because if you only do easy stuff, what's the difference between you and somebody else? When it gets tough is when people realize who's good and who's not. Luckily for me, I had counted the steps that I had to walk up there and turn left. Because what happens is they put a marker there, a little piece of adhesive tape. But when I'm talking to camera, I can't say, 1 minute. How do you know that you've reached that? Peripheral vision works sometimes. I had counted the steps. So though I'm not hearing anything now, I count the steps. It's 11 steps. I go there. I turn. Sure as ever, that spider cam is there. The spider cam goes up. Tick, tick, tick. It goes to the toss. We get away. Why did we get away? Was it talent? Or was it that someone had rehearsed it enough and counted the steps? On the big day, just imagine it's just another day. Because the fear of the outcome can sometimes ruin your present. But the outcome's critical, no? Aren't we all judged by outcomes? Is there any one of us, if you're not judged by outcomes just yet, you will be in your career, I can assure you. It is what we are measured by, it is what we aspire for. The outcomes are what we aspire for, don't we? You can't screw up a big project and say it was all about the journey, not the destination. Nah, the outcome is important. How much of the outcome is in your control, though? Virat Kohli is going out to bat in a major final. Is that innings entirely in his control? You think all those bowlers were coming up and saying, "Very Kohli aa raha hai, yaar, chodna." They're trying their best to get him out. Is the outcome in your control? When you write entrance exams, when you write difficult quizzes here, and I hope there are damn tough quizzes here as well, because if we were put through it, you must too. Can you control the outcome? What is it that you can control? If you control what you can do, why worry about the outcome now? If the outcome is not in your hands, what can you do? And so very often the best athletes, they say, I will practice excellence and I will not care. Can the outcome be a byproduct of excellence? Do you think it's possible, or am I just making motherhood statements here, like in a classroom just before going to the mess? Is it possible that you say, I will make the outcome a mere byproduct of my skill? You have no choice, but yet it's much easily said. I found too in my life that whenever I fell in love with the outcome, it just kept going further and further away from me. I don't know what it's meant to be, but it just kept going further and further away. I still remember there were 2 or 3 projects that I was not damn keen to do. Yeah, I said, "Chal karte na, the money is very good." Didn't happen. Every time, it's funny how these messages come into your head, man. I don't know if this happened to you guys ever? When you are so obsessed with outcomes, something it just doesn't happen, yeah. Instead, just practice excellence, yeah. There is this word that we use in business a lot. It's the sworn enemy of excellence, that word. It starts with a J. It's a Hindi word. If you embrace jugaad, you embrace misery anyway. It's a sworn enemy of excellence because it will make you do things that you would not want to do otherwise. It'll lead to short-term fixes. It'll make you do things ethically that are wrong. It'll make you do things that you'll forget afterwards. So the obsession with the outcome is actually a trap, and accept that some days we will fail. How many of you are afraid of failing? Correct. Thank God there are people speaking the truth here. What did Rahul Dravid say? I batted 604 times for India. I didn't cross 50 runs 410 times out of those. I failed a lot more than I succeeded. Michael Jordan failed a lot more than he succeeded. Roger Federer failed a lot more than he succeeded. So is there any point worrying about failing? If Rahul Dravid is not worried about failing, why should we be here? No? Don't agree? Or is it because you're just saying this guy's coming to the end of his career, he can say whatever he wants? The truth is, if you're not afraid of failing, you win more. It's happened to me twice in my life. After I finished my BTech, I didn't know I was going to get in here. In my wildest dreams, I didn't imagine I'd get in here. So what do? This is 1983. You don't get jobs if you're an engineer from a small college in Hyderabad. So you delay unemployment. That year, the IITs had started something called GATE, Graduate Aptitude Test in Engineering, to do an MTech at IITs. It was one of my options. It was not my only option, and I wasn't really bothered. So I went with I studied, I went with a completely open mind. I wasn't afraid. There were 9 sections. You had to do only 7 out of those. I didn't even know which 7 I wanted to do. So I did all 9. And 5 minutes from the end, I just quickly checked how many questions I've answered in which segment and struck off 2 of those. But I wasn't afraid of losing. And so I scored more marks than all my friends who were actually better than me at chemical engineering, because they wanted it very badly. Then I came here, and the only job I ever wanted was a particular job in advertising. And I wanted it so badly, man. The same prof who taught us also worked in advertising. I chewed his brains every day. And then I went for the interview. It was the single worst interview anyone can ever do. And I've come back, 3rd of March, 1985. I remember the date, I'll tell you why. 3rd of March, 1985. And I'm sitting in my room thinking, dude, you flunked it, man. When in those days, there used to be one telephone, remember? One telephone on each floor. That phone rang and said, वो placement office ने बुलाया है आपको. I said, यार मैं पूरा गड़बड़ करके हूँ, क्यों बुला रहे हो फिर? He said, that guy doesn't know, यार. He said, नहीं, साहब ने बुलाया है. So there I go, and the people from Rediffusion are there. He said, what happened? I said, I'm sorry, I wanted it too badly. He said, I'll give you the job on the condition you never do an interview as badly as that again. Sometimes when you're obsessed with the outcome, you lose sight of the present. So can we let the outcome just happen? But in the world that we are in every single thing we are crazy about outcomes. How many on Instagram? How many of you, within 5 minutes of posting on Instagram, are checking likes? And how many of you are saying, damn, nobody? We are obsessed with the outcome. We are obsessed with results. All the time you're thinking of results which are not in your hands. On Instagram, effectively, I mean, I'm on Instagram too. It's just that I forget to post. I'm on Instagram too. But on Instagram, we are living the lie, aren't we? How many aspects of today's life are we living the lie in? The world is beautiful, is it? I don't know what my next job is going to be. My assessment has not gone too well, and I've built up all these EMIs because I'm this cool guy who's got to drive the big car, right? You're stressed out like hell. You're pretending. You're living a lie. That is where depression is coming in. And luckily, I've got grown-up men as children, and they talk to me about the amount of depression in society these days. It's a direct outcome of how much you're crazy about these outcomes. Don't worry about outcomes in life. We're not playing a T20 match in life, you know. Our life is a test match. We're not playing a T20. Sometimes it might look like a T20 game when one quiz follows another. Especially when the quiz is 2 o'clock quiz is announced at 1:20. Are profs still as cruel? They are? You're going to the mess and there's a small notice somewhere saying quiz at 2 o'clock? Thank God. So yeah, we're playing a test match. The great thing about test match cricket is it always gives you a second chance. Always. There's a second innings for a reason in test match cricket, because in life you always get a second innings. That's why there is a second innings in test cricket. When the going gets tough, you don't get out, but you hang in. You become a pujara. Why is pujara so admirable? You hang in there. I may not be able to score just now, but I won't let you get me out. When the tide turns, I'm still here. You're not. We play test match cricket. Is hanging in cool or is hanging in an uncle thing? What do you think? If you think it's not cool, you got a lot of trouble coming your way, man. Hang in there. Hang in is beautiful. Do you have a shoulder? How many of you have a shoulder to cry on? I found in my life when something that shouldn't have happened to me 8 years ago, and I look back to see who was in my corner, and I found the sum total of 0 people there. That is when I realized who my team is. And I'm very lucky that I've had a very, very, very strong family with me at all times. Even when I was starting out, my brother, who's my role model for ethics and truthfulness, He would send me little messages. One day he sent me a message saying, I can understand if Jeffrey Boycott doesn't understand Duckworth Lewis, but if you don't, I'll be unhappy. Because you're supposed to understand the mathematics behind it. Let him understand the outcome, but you must know the mathematics behind it. One day when I was trying too hard to impress, I just got a little SMS. A single is a good shot too, don't try too many fours. A single is a good shot. Isn't that a great truth? Are we spending too much of our time trying to hit fours when a single is a good shot? I remember all those things, like my sister's a rock star. She just won't tell you what she's doing. One day she said, I'm going to England for something. I said, what are you going to England for? I said, I don't know, Prince Charles is giving me an award. She won a green Oscar or something. She won't tell anybody. So very substantial people. My boys are my rocks. Today I know that if anything happens to me, they are there. They teach me modern digital media. How many people in this room have a shoulder that they can rest on when things are going bad? Because things will go bad. I don't want to create this doomsday scenario for you, because more things will go right than wrong. But when things go wrong, always see to it that there's a shoulder that you can lean on. Okay, I don't have much time. Number 7. Don't talk much about number 7, but that's where Gilchrist won matches from. Have you thought about what makes you happy? Do you sometimes think as if, what is it that makes me happy? No? Think about it, man. Just sit today. Now you've got this huge campus with so many coffee shops also. Just sit there and say, what makes me happy? I did that exercise once, and I found that of all the things that made me happy, none of them were big. I found I didn't say getting the perfect line at the greatest moment in Indian cricket. No, I made a list of things that made me happy. And you're going to laugh at this, by the way. The things that made me happy: a hug, a good cup of coffee that I make myself, watching a great cover drive, seeing a ball that pitcher's leg hits off, Bumrah to Reza Hendricks. You can see that ball 100 times, man. And if you stop seeing that after 100 times, stop seeing cricket. I do a simple voiceover at the start of every game. I must have done it 1,000 times. I love nice pairs of sneakers so much that I've given myself the liberty, while everyone's wearing proper leather shoes, to wear a pair of sneakers here. Eating a little chikki somewhere. I carry a piece of chikki with me somewhere. These are all small things, no? I find that small things make me happy, because the big things I don't know when they're going to happen. And the biggest things that happened in my life happened, I didn't even know they were big when they were happening. I discovered they were big 2 years later. So, we spend a lot of time searching for peaks. How many peaks have you had in your life so far? I hope getting in here was one. How many peaks have you had in life? I count back 4, maybe 5 peaks in life. Is it a good career? What do you think? How many peaks in life is a good career? 5, 6? If you have more than that, you're actually just standing one leg like a yogi on top of a mountain. If you're only going to get 5 or 6 peaks in your life, you're going to be living life on a plateau, no? So might as well enjoy the plateau rather than worrying about where the peak is. And you enjoy the plateau if you like the little things. So I keep telling everybody, enjoy the small things in life, man. The big things will take care of themselves. Can you stay relevant? You guys are very lucky at the moment that you're on the right side of relevance. We live in your world, you don't live in ours. But if I start to think that you live in ours, then my shelf life is, I'm gone. I'm yesterday's product. So I have to live in your world, which means I have to constantly reinvent myself. I have to constantly upskill myself. Everywhere I go to speak at companies, these are the words that keep coming back. The 2 words that keep coming back all over corporate India are agility and upskilling. You might look and say, look at that, those old guys, yeah. What do they know? Believe me, before in the twinkling of an eye, you'll be on the wrong side of the relevance curve. And you'll start to think, can I challenge? The biggest challenge in corporate India at the moment is for people who are in their early 40s. Because they're challenged by an astonishingly good young generation entering the workforce. It's an outstanding generation. The best generation independent India has ever had. The 30, 35-year-olds in the workplace, their ambition, their attitude to life, wow, fantastic. And they understand technology. At 40 something, you understand yesterday's technology, but you're not senior enough to say, I'm the boss. You're sandwiched. If you're in the 40s, you have no choice but to keep reinventing yourself all the time. You will get there someday. I have to understand analytics, right? In T20 cricket. Do I have a choice not understanding analytics? Because I can say, you know what, he's terrible through the onside man, he's a great offside player. And the numbers will say, when the ball pitches on a length, short of length, outside off, strike rate is 82. When the same ball pitches here, the strike rate is 153, average 42. What are you talking about? I have to know analytics. I have to understand T20 cricket. I talk to people like Aaron Finch, Dinesh Karthik, and I think they talk about T20 cricket like I don't even know it. So, can you constantly upskill? When we were in school, early, there was a cult book of the times. It was called Future Shock. It was by an author called Alvin Toffler. And he said then that the illiterate of tomorrow is not the person who can't read or write, but the person who can't learn. Be careful never to stop learning. Because otherwise, I had no choice. So I had to keep learning. I had no choice. But I hope you always have choices. But if you find yourself in a situation like mine where you have no choices, just keep learning and learn from everybody. My biggest learning in television has come from the crew. I watch them. I look at their work ethic. I see what geniuses there are. The people who do sound, the people who do camera, the engineering crew, they are of the highest caliber. I look at them and say, I'm the packaging to their cake, you know. I can't go wrong. And I get inspired by seeing those people. You never know where inspiration is coming from. Number 9. How many people batted at number 9? I did all my life. You will become successful one day. You already are, but you'll become very successful. And may God will it that way, that a lot of you become very successful. When you become successful, you'll find as you're walking by, suddenly you'll find 3 shadows coming alongside you. The first shadow is called overconfidence. I'm cool, man. I won yesterday. I can win today. There's another shadow that will slowly appear. That's called complacence. I can do it anytime. Even if you choose to walk with those 2, you're okay. There will be a third shadow that will come up and that will engulf you and strangle you. And that's called ego. Because you become very good at something, you start to become you're very good at everything, and your ego comes in the way of learning and you start to preach. Like I did a little bit today. Instead of talking to people, you start addressing them. Do you know people like that? They come to talk to you, but you say, hang on, you're talking to me or you're giving me a speech, man? Because I know it all. So just watch out. Have somebody in your life who will just tap you on the back and say, dude, you're getting a little arrogant, okay? Just chill. Or just watch out. We went to a party to our neighbor's today and all you did was talk about yourself. But if no one tells you that, how will you won't even know you're talking like that. All you guys marry the right girl. Marry the right guys also, it's okay. There's some decent guys also. I think it's important from time to time to dream. Do we dream too much? I think it's important to dream and ask yourself, what is the unimaginable? Yeah, is this on? Can you just put this on? This one? Yeah. 1, 2. Just ask yourself, what is it that is unimaginable? You see Surya Kumar Yadav bat? Where does he fall? He falls outside the pitch and the ball goes for 6 to fine leg. When we grew up, there was a sanctity of the stumps. You protected the stumps at all cost. And here is a guy who doesn't even care where the stumps are. Unimaginable. The catch that people are taking on the boundary, is that imaginable? You score 287 in a T20 game and lose by 25? Is that imaginable? So from time to time, dream and ask yourself, what is it that is unimaginable? Don't do that when you've had a couple of drinks, because then you'll dream the wrong things. Alcohol might be okay, but it's vastly overrated anyway. But just dream. In CR2 one day, we had a professor of economics called Professor Anand Gupta. And I think he was teaching us macroeconomics. And one day, he just put all his notes, everything aside. And I don't know where he was looking. He was looking somewhere in the distance. And he said, I dream of the day India will have 1,000 crore company. 1,000 crore company. Now people are valuing themselves at 1,000 crores. And one day, dream of understanding this fantastic new word in our vocabulary called valuation. And if you understand what valuation means, tell me. Because in the management we learned, there was sales, there was expenditure, and there was profit. It was an easy equation. Now there's valuation coming, which allows you to spend money that someone else is giving you all the time. It's like you're on one big unlimited pocket money gig. So if anyone understands valuation, please teach me. And so there's a course on valuation. I want to come and attend that because I think valuation is like ice cream. There's a lot of nothing there. And develop talent. You know, everybody in India today is talking about developing a Jasprit Bumrah. How many Jasprit Bumrahs are there in our workforce? And what is corporate India doing about the Jasprit Bumrahs in our workforce? Are we nurturing the Bumrahs or are we bowling them into the dust? Are we becoming a stress factory as a country? And will we continue to produce Bumrahs or will we continue to rub the Bumrahs into the dust? When you become leaders, understand that talent has to be nurtured. That if you nurture talent, talent will back you all the time. One of the biggest stories in corporate India is people join companies and leave bosses. Can you be the boss that's the glue? That people join companies like people go to play at CSK because they want to become better. That is where the gems will emerge. That is where the Bumrahs will emerge. We're getting all these GCCs in India now. How many people are getting up in the morning and saying, wow, I want to go and work there? My son's a lawyer, and he's a litigation lawyer, and he says almost all his batchmates have quit law firms because they've been put through what we call the Ganna circuit. You know what a Ganna circuit is? Anyone had Ganne ka ras? You have Ganne ka ras and you put the Ganna in, and it reaches a point when it's got nothing left to give you. And that's when you put it in again. There are many, many outstanding young Bumrahs in our corporate workforce and many of them in this room. When you become leaders, nurture talent and learn to develop the Bumrahs and embrace diversity. Learn to respect other cultures, man. The Aussies come to play the IPL and one of the Indian players said, you know, it's funny when they win, they celebrate and they're okay the next morning. When they lose, they're like, yeah, we lost and they're okay the next morning. He said, when we win, we keep on celebrating, and when we lose, we keep on mourning. So when we go into the next game, we are carrying the result of the previous game into our next game. He said, these guys win, lose, they're cool, man. The West Indies, completely different culture. People want to come and play alongside Ashwin because they want to learn how to become a great off-spinner. The world understands it, India doesn't. So don't just be the big tree in whose shade nothing grows. When you grow up, build an orchard. And the only reason I'm saying this is I'm invoking the inner Professor Mote in me. Some of you won't even know, sadly. But Professor Mote his soul is still here somewhere. He's probably just sitting there looking at me and saying, stop it, you're 7 minutes over. And on one of our MSM classes, he was a terror, honestly, because he could not stand people who didn't try enough. And suddenly one day he put everything aside and started giving us a lecture on ethics. And believe me, that was one of the finest lectures I heard in my life, because I came from a family that believed very strongly in ethics. And because Professor Mote was such an influence on me, I'm going to end with what Professor Mote said about ethics. And I'd urge you, you're going to become part of the absolute elite workforce in our country. And the responsibility on a lot of you is to instill honesty and the right work ethic. If you are honest, everybody else will be honest because you will be the leaders. If the commander who drives his troops is a certain way, the troops are like that. So, I think we owe it to our country to build, to become an ethical, honest workforce. I remember when my elder brother and sister, they're twins, they got state scholarships after their 10th or 12th standard, I don't know. And my sister just reminded me of what my father said to them at that time. He said, the nation is investing a lot in you and your education, and this comes with a responsibility. It would be good if the country gets a very high return on the investment it is making in my children. Country is making a big investment in you as well. Least we can do is pay taxes. There are a lot of people who come on Instagram and talk about patriotism and take their money overseas. I think honesty has got to be a non-negotiable. I look at the generation of my parents and I think I can see why India became a great country. India was in its infancy, in its vulnerability. India was inhabited by simple, honest, patriotic people. Don't look at your parents because they're younger than me. My parents, my father was 20, my mother was 12, 13 when India got independence. They were a very simple, honest, patriotic people. Can we also be that? If we are, the next generation will be. Rahul Dravid said once, if we want Test cricket to survive, Virat Kohli has to embrace Test cricket. Because if Virat Kohli likes Test cricket, Shubman Gill will like Test cricket. If we embrace honesty, the next generation will be too. And I thought I'd leave you with just one or two things. Can we discover the great power that exists in humility and gratitude? Is it powerful or is it just a cop-out? What do you think? Humility allows you to accept your shortcomings and become the best you can be. Sometimes our ego comes in the way, and gratitude makes for a better society. And that's why I will always remain very grateful to this temple, incredible temple of mine. And that's why I keep coming back here, because I'm intensely grateful for what this place did to me. And out of that gratitude, I will keep coming back. So, sorry if the last few minutes appear a little preachy, man. It's just at our age, we get a little sentimental. So sorry about that. But why didn't you all put up your hands if it sounded preachy? Or when you were putting up your hands when I was asking you the answers, was that what you were putting up your hand for? Now, thank you very much. Thank you for being patient enough. I suspect that's not what you expected from this lecture today. But I just thought, I don't know how much more often I'm going to come back to this institute and get to talk to people. At our age, we start getting come to terms with mortality. So I just thought before once in life, I wanted to say these things, sir. Thank you very much. We're going to be doing a lot of interesting things on this channel. So do subscribe. I look forward to hearing from you.